look, it comes down to elections. Everything boils down right now to who leads this country. We can debate and we can fuss and we can go back and forth, but we absolutely must get these elections right. Brad Schimel is on the ballot, Wisconsin Supreme Court. He was on Fox News Channel, I believe with Laura Ingraham. And I want to play for you a little clip of his reminder about why tomorrow's election in the state of Wisconsin is so significant, so epic, so crucial.
Why does this race matter so much?
Little did I know when I got into this race 16 months ago that we were going to be called the most important race in America in 2025. And little did I know that we'd shatter the record of $56 million spent 2 years ago on the last Supreme Court race. Now it's expected to go over $100 million on a court race in Wisconsin. The reason why? My opponent got caught by the New York Times, a month and a half ago or so, getting on a Zoom call with our state Democratic Party chair and billionaire leftist donor Reid Hoffman, promising that if she got elected on the court, they would turn 2 Republican congressional seats into Democrat congressional seats. Now, just yesterday, the minority leader in our state, in our House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries, got caught saying the quiet thing out loud also, repeating that same promise that we've got to get her on the court, and then the court will take over the role of the legislature and gerrymander out 2 Republican congressmen.
Wisconsin voters, you can't stay home. Wisconsin voters, you can't be on the sidelines for this one. Please, you must do your duty. You gotta vote. If you haven't voted already, and Democrats, of course, master the science of early voting, we got to get better at it. We got to take every path possible, and we did in November. Look what happened, and look at the lightning speed with which the Trump administration and the Senate and the House are getting things done. He's so right about Hakeem Jeffries. You got to hear this. This is their plan. They want the courts to rule the country. That's their only chance. They don't believe in elected officials because they know that given our own, if we're left up to our own devices, and if the American people get their say, we're going to have what we have right now. And they can't believe it. Look at the CBS News poll that just came out. CBS News polls got Trump at a 50% approval rating. Now, the truth is, that's like a 90% approval rating when you consider everything that Trump is up against. You got everybody, as usual, gunning for him, literally and figuratively. 50% approval rating, says CBS. Overwhelming support for the mass deportation, according to AP and other polling places that are not friendly to conservatives. Everything's going to take time. We got to see how things all unfold, but right now, people like what they see. But if Democrats get their way, you're going to have judges running the country. They want to gerrymander. They want to redraw districts. That's why they want the radical liberal candidate in Wisconsin to win, and they want Brad Schimel to lose. You got to vote for Brad Schimel. You got to vote for election integrity. It's on the line right now in Wisconsin. Here's the clip from Hakeem Jeffries outlining what Democrats will do to Wisconsin if they win tomorrow and they get a majority, a liberal, progressive majority Supreme Court in the great state of Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin, that's a 50-50 race because we know Wisconsin's a 50-50 state.
Yeah.
And we have a strong Democratic candidate. Whoever wins is going to determine who has the majority in the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Why is that important? Because there are gerrymandered congressional lines right now in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a 50-50 state, as I mentioned, but there are 6 Republicans and only 2 Democrats out of an 8-person delegation because the lines are broken.
Right.
And as soon as possible, we need to be able to revisit that and have fair lines. The only way for that to be even a significant possibility is if you have an enlightened Supreme Court.
An enlightened Supreme Court. Got it? You got to be enlightened. If you're a progressive, if you're far left, you're enlightened. And Brad Schimel is right. Hakeem Jeffries is not bright enough to keep from saying the quiet part out loud. We get an enlightened Supreme Court, we're going to be able to gerrymander and redraw districts, and we're going to get more Democrats in the House of Representatives, and then we're going to get hopefully House of Representatives that's got a Democrat majority, and then we'll tie Trump up by impeaching him on a weekly basis. We'll do everything we can to hamstring the Trump administration. We'll go back to impeaching every time the man sneezes. This is what they're about. Right now, you got rogue judges like this Boasberg, who winds up just magically, and don't think the Republicans aren't embarking on a huge investigative effort to find out how this happened. You got hundreds and hundreds of federal judges, and somehow Boasberg has been assigned like 4, anti-Trump actions back to back to back to back. He's a Trump-hating activist. He's an activist judge who's trying to thwart the Trump agenda. And this is the result of the efforts of the past to put activist judges in the court system so they can stop any advancement of conservatism or even just common sense pragmatism in the federal government. So we got a lot on the line here. We're going to spend a lot of time today on Wisconsin. In fact, we're going to catch up with our newsman, Roger P. Schulman, to talk about why Wisconsin matters. You got to show up. You cannot stay home tomorrow, Wisconsin. You got to vote. We got to win that. We got to win that. I saw over the weekend there was rainy, cold, miserable weather, and people were lined up in the rain to support Brad Schimel. Brad Schimel's got to win tomorrow. Pray. And incidentally, if you're not in Wisconsin, and if you haven't been able to support his race any way you can nationally, you got to pray. You got to pray. You got to pray. Don't forget the power of prayer and our faith that we can get it right. Welcome in. Elon Musk is living a life of danger. Everybody's threatening him. They're mad at him. They're protesting. I asked Christian, can we play that video clip that James Wood? I'll post it on my X account in about 2 minutes, so follow me on X, @Gallagher Show. You want to see these boomers circling a guy in a Cybertruck, and this little old lady, bring it on! I'll break you in half, lady. She says, bring it! Bring it! No, ma'am. Please don't wish that. You're going to get hurt. Somebody is going to get hurt. Time's going to come when somebody is going to be hurt or worse as a result of these violent leftist protests. But I want you to see this. This is important. Elon went to Wisconsin. He's supporting, of course, Brad Schimel. And he introduced one of his Doge engineers. This guy's one of these venture equity capital guys, or a guy named Antonio Gracias, who explains what's going on with the Social Security Administration and what they are uncovering through Doge. Check this out. And this is like 4 minutes, but I want you to hear the whole thing because it's really, really important. Everybody needs to know what's at stake. Look, in Wisconsin, they want the radical progressive woman to win the Supreme Court race so that Democrats can control the House of Representatives. That's the real plan. That's the end game. With Social Security, check out the connection to illegals.
Antonio's helping out with the Social Security. So just trying to review Social Security, where you may have heard that we found 20 million dead people marked as alive in the Social Security database. This is so crazy. And then you'll notice there's a strange trend here where how many Social Security numbers were issued. Do you want to?
Yeah. So let me tell you what happened here. We started at the top of the system.
You want to talk about a lot of maybe?
We started at the top of the system, mapping the whole system of Social Security to understand where all the fraud was. And there's a lot of great people there that showed us really a lot of waste. And so that came up with a big list of stuff that we're working on. You've heard some of that already. But this is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, just this literally blew us away. Like, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. And this isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. Yeah, this country's been great to us. My brother and sister all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration. This is not political. This is not political. This is about America and the future of America. And there are a lot of good people in the system that pointed us in this direction. I want to honor them right now, that work in the government today, who took risks to show us these numbers and tell us what's going on. Yeah. So I want to stop for a minute. I want to honor those people today. Very good people. Very good people. I have been from D.C. to Social Security offices to the border to track this down, and very good people have helped us along the way. I want to thank them.
Yeah.
This number, what this is when you come in the country, if you're illegal, there's a couple ways to come in. You come in through a port of entry, and you can tell them you're afraid, and they'll give you an asylum case. You'll get an interview, then you get in. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to just go to the border. Literally, this happened. I talked to Border Patrol myself. Elon was there too. I went to Laredo, and I went to Bronzeville. Elon went to Eagle Pass. You walk up to a Border Patrol officer, and you tell them you want to come in. They have a couple of choices. They could charge you with a misdemeanor or a felony under 1325, or they can make it an administrative offense, like a parking ticket, basically. They were told to do that, make it an administrative offense under the last administration. And then you go walk across the border. They do what's called a release from your own recognizance, and they give you an NTA, a notice to appear, which is to appear to judge. The wait times on judges are like average 6 years. Look at Grok, you'll see it on immigration judges.
Eric, I'm hearing myself.
Of them.
Talk back. I'm hearing myself and talk back.
Okay, so what happens then? Once you're in the country and you've got asylum through one of these pathways, and we've mapped the whole thing out, you can apply for a work document. You file a 765, it's the work form. You get this form called the 766, that's the authorization. And then Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail your Social Security number. No interview, no ID.
This is worth just reiterating. It's not people sometimes think that under the Biden administration that he was simply asleep at the switch. He wasn't asleep. No. They weren't asleep at the switch. It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the entire voting map of the United States and disenfranchise the American people, and make it a permanent, deep blue, one-party state from which there would be no escape.
Look, if I hadn't seen this myself, I'm not sure I'd have believed it. I went through it myself and mapped it, and Elon is right. This is true. The defaults in the system from Social Security to all of the benefit programs have been set to max inclusion, max pay for these people, and minimum collection. That's what's happening. We found 1.3 million of them already on Medicaid, as an example. We've gone through, on every benefit program we went through, we found groups from this particular group of people, this 5.5 million people, in those benefit programs. And then what was really, really disturbing us was why. We're asking ourselves why. Right. And so we actually just took a sample and looked at voter registration records. And we found people here registered to vote in this population, yes.
And who did vote.
And we found some by sampling that actually did vote. And we have referred them to prosecution at the Homeland Security Investigation Service.
Yeah.
Already, that is already happening.
I don't know about you, that's what I voted for. And that guy, this Antonio Gracias, he's an venture capital guy. He doesn't need this. Elon doesn't need to do any of this. They're doing it because they love the country and they want to make it better. They want the country, as one person put it, to run like an Apple store. 800-655-MIKE. Why is Wisconsin so important? We'll tell you next. Wisconsin is so important. Let's talk, Roger, about what the stakes are, why there's been so much national emphasis on Wisconsin?
Well, it's the most expensive judicial race in history. Over $90 million has been spent on this. Basically, it's so important because if the liberals maintain control, it could mean they could stop President Trump's legislative agenda in its tracks, because they could eliminate a couple of Republican congressional seats in the state of Wisconsin. And that would change the balance in the House, the national House. And this could be a disaster for President Trump. They could start the impeachment stuff again. They could block everything he wants to do, and it would just be a horrible situation. It's typical. George Soros and the Democrats are pouring money into this because they saw that this was one of those kind of under-the-radar races that could have a major effect on the United States, and it's absolutely true. It's not just Wisconsin. Soros saw the opportunity, donated, and this could actually change the balance in the United States House of Representatives and start this impeachment stuff all over again that we had the last term that President Trump was in.
Well, I appreciate so much the emphasis on Wisconsin and how important it is for everybody to get out and vote. And we'll see if, look, turnout is everything, right, Roger? I mean, people tend to stay home in these off elections, these special elections, or elections that aren't even held in the general cycle, and that's a problem.
It's a real problem, and if you stay home in Wisconsin, I lived 67 miles south of Madison growing up, and Wisconsin's a pretty normal state except for Madison, where you've got the big Democratic, very, very liberal social people there. And if you stay home and you're a Republican, you're going to be in for some pretty bad stuff if the liberals maintain control.
Let's shift gears for just a moment. You are the veritable expert on all things Florida. There's a couple of Tesla showrooms in the Tampa Bay area. There's one in Tampa, the city of Tampa, I think, and then a big, beautiful new one in St. Pete. I drove by the one in St. Pete, the protest Saturday. It looked like a bunch of boomers, a bunch of 50 and 60-year-old white folks out there with signs calling Elon a Nazi and all that, but no violence reported in the Tampa Bay area, right?
No, there wasn't any violence. It's kind of funny. Those were the people who were urging everybody to buy a Tesla a few months ago, and now they're out there trying to blow up Teslas and yell at drivers as they go by and call them Nazis. It's quite an interesting shift.
It really, well, that's the problem. I mean, when the people are vandalizing Teslas, you might be vandalizing a fellow lefty.
Exactly, because those are the people who are in the forefront of buying them. Now, a number of Republicans bought them too because they're rather fun cars to drive. I had the opportunity to drive one a couple of times, and it's great fun. I mean, they're great automobiles as long as you don't drive them into salt water. But other than that, they're wonderful cars. And
don't drive it into salt water, and don't make sure you got to have a charger. If you're going to take a long trip, you better schedule some charging stations along the route.
And hope that they're working. Yes, hope that they're working. But yeah, they're great automobiles.
Fingers crossed.
And such a switch in philosophy. Quite humorous in one sense of the word.
There really is a lot of humor there. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. Roger P. Schulman, our newsman, joining us. Thank you, sir. Great of you to check in. What a time to be alive, huh? Just so much going on. 14 before the hour.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.